So you decided to play the trombone. Well, then congratulations on choosing the world's biggest and probably most expensive slide whistle. So congrats on your choice. Now I think it's probably the best instrument out there. The stuff you can do with it is pretty fun, and you're gonna have a lot of fun playing it. And today we're going to be talking about the origins of the trombone, where it came from, and we're going to talk about the individual parts of the trombone. And at the very end, very briefly, we're going to talk about the sounds that the trombone can make. Okay. So first, we're going to talk about its origins. So the trombone was created back in about the 15th century. So that's about 600 years ago. And for about 300 years, it was known as the sackbut. And yeah, I know it's funny. Get your giggles out now. Like it's just never gonna stop being funny, no matter how many times you hear the word sackbut. Okay. So the name sackbut actually comes from the word sake, and that is referring to when you draw out like a sword from a sheath. And this is because of the way the trombone is played. It uses a slide, so you would take a sword out almost. Whereas other instruments at the time they use keys or holes to play their notes. Okay, so because of the range or the notes that you could play on the trombone were very much like the notes that a person were able to sing, trombones were mainly used as religious instruments. And so you wouldn't really see them a whole lot outside of religious services or religious music. It was known as a divine instrument. So it wasn't until about the early 1800s that a composer named Beethoven was able to put the trombone into one of the symphonies. And so it was actually like the sound of the trombone, and he kept using it in the symphonies. And from there, the trombone became a staple, or I guess you could call it a permanent choice for symphonies from there on out. That's something that you can still see today. And so today, apart from just religious music, you can find trombones almost everywhere. Of course, in symphonies, trombones produce a very distinct and powerful sound that composers like to use. You can also find the trombone in jazz a lot, and even find it in some rock music. And so the cool thing about the trombone is because of its slide, musicians are able to produce unique and special sounds that are hard to produce or be created by other instruments. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at the different parts of the trombone, going from top to bottom. And for that, we're going to use the worksheet that I passed out. Okay, and we're going to play Follow the Leader with the instruments that are right next to you as I point out and show everyone the part of the instrument. I want you to do the same with the instrument next to you. Okay, and then once I see that everyone has gotten to the point at the right part of the instrument, put the instrument back down gently and slowly, and on the worksheet, label each part correctly. On the slide, I will have the words spelled out, so it'll be all correct. Okay, so we have here the tuning slide. So the job of the tuning slide is to help the trombone players play the notes correctly. So on a different class, we're going to talk about being in tune and playing in tune. But the most important lesson today is that tuning is very important for a trombone player, and it is actually one of the harder lessons to learn. But it's okay because of the way that the trombone is built, the music you'll be able to play is really fun. The sounds you'll able to make are really cool, and they're the ones that stick out the most whenever bands have special sounds that you can do that they require a trombone for. Okay. So next, we're going to the bell. And this is the part right here. So the bell, the way the trombone is made, the sound will come out of here, this hole, and it'll be like a laser. Okay, so keep in mind that whenever you play the trombone, where you point the instrument is where the sound is going to come out from. Okay, next, we have the main slide lock. So this little ring right here, the main job of this ring is to keep both halves of the instrument together. Let me show you by unscrewing it. Okay, see? So it's important to make sure that the main slide lock is on tightly, but not too tight. If it's not too tight, it'll just move around and you'll have trouble playing it. But if it's too tight, then you'll have trouble taking it apart and putting it back in the case. I speak from personal experience. It's not fun. Okay, so just remember to leave it tight, but not too tight. Okay. And now we're going to go on to the bottom half of the instrument. We're going to go on to the main tuning slide. Okay, so for this part, I'm just going to show this so everyone point. Yeah, it doesn't matter which one. Yeah, you can use whichever side. Okay, okay. So the main tuning slide. The trombone, instead of using pistons or valves, keys or buttons, they use slides. Okay, and for you to put the slide on the places you need to go to play the notes you want, you need to go to what's called a position. Okay, so on the trombone slide, there are 7 positions. Okay, and so on the main tuning slide, it's actually made of 2 parts. There's this golden outer slide, and there is this silver colored inner slide. Okay, and just for the worksheet, I just need you to know that this is called the main tuning slide. Okay, but it is important to know that there are 2 parts to it, and it's important information that you're going to use later as you're playing. Okay. Going on to the bottom, we have this called the spit valve or water key. I call it the spit valve, but you can call it whatever you want, whatever your preference is. And this is probably the part of the instrument that grosses most people out just because of what it does. So as you play, your hot air will go through and it'll create a water vapor, and so it'll just eventually build up to this little corner. If too much builds up, you're going to have a little gurgly sound whenever you play. And so to empty it out, you're going to press this little arm down and then blow through. And what will happen is all the water that was trapped inside the slide will just come out like a waterfall of like, psh, it'll make sounds. And people that don't know about it, haven't seen it before, are going to say gross or ew. So just be ready for that. It's going to happen a lot. People never going to get used to it. At the very bottom of the slide, there's this little rubber thing, and it's called the bumper. And its job is basically to protect the rest of the slide from getting bent if you accidentally hit a stand, a chair, or the floor. And so all of this is just protection for the rest of the slide. Okay. So now we're going to go on to what I think is probably the most important part. Yeah, the most important part of the trombone, and it is the slide lock. So the slide lock is your friend. All right. So it is probably, like I said, the most important thing because it keeps the outer slide from just zooming away or shooting out or getting lost or getting bent or getting broken. It protects the inner slide from getting bent as well, and it keeps it from getting dirty with dirt, food, grease, whatever other things, things that will make the trombone not play correctly. So the important thing is whenever you're not playing, always, 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 I can't state this enough, always lock your slide. Okay? When you're going to put it down on the ground, lock it. When you're about to play, unlock it. But if you're not playing it, not touching it, or it's just in your hands, lock it so the slide doesn't move around. Okay? So now we're going to go over the mouthpiece. So there are 3 parts of the mouthpiece. This wider end called the rim, this middle part called the cup, and some people will be like a bowl, or some instruments or mouthpieces will have a little bit of a wedge like mine does. And then the other side, this tube-looking part is called the shank. Okay, so you put the rim on your lips to play, and you put the shank into the instrument so that you can play it. Okay. So now we're going to very briefly talk about the sounds you make on the instrument. Because of the way the trombone is built with the slide, it is important to articulate or use your tongue to produce and separate individual sounds. And so to kind of show you the difference, I'm going to play it both ways. Once I'm going to play 5 notes using my tongue to separate the notes, and in the second way, I'm going to play using only the slide. And so on the worksheet that I passed out on the space below, I want you to write down in your own thoughts, your own words, your own feelings, what you think about each different style. Okay? And so if you want to say, oh, it sounds like my cat when it's hungry, you can put it down if that's what your cat sounds like. But as long as it's your own words. And afterwards, we're going to go one by one we're going to talk about each style, what you each thought. Okay. So here is the first one. I'll play it one more time. And if the class was here, they wanted me to repeat it again, I would, and they would have 30 seconds to a minute to write down their thoughts. So now I'm going to skip over to the second style. Play it again. And again, if they wanted me to play it again, I would. And they had any questions or any comments, I mean, they could make them right now if they wanted to. And like I said, afterwards we would have a discussion where they would speak about the different styles of playing that I just did, and I would encourage them as they were speaking. If another student said something that they liked, they should write it down on their sheet so they can expand their vocabulary and perhaps think about playing the trombone in a different way. And so, since I don't have a class, I decided to talk about why I include this activity. I thought this would be a cool way for me to learn alongside them, because obviously they're learning about new sounds, new names, new words, and so I thought it'd be a cool way for them to connect their old knowledge with this new knowledge. Saying like, oh, this sounds like this, or oh, this sounds like this thing that I heard yesterday or last week, and so I thought it'd be a cool way for me to also learn alongside them, possibly even have a different perspective, a different way of looking at the sounds and the way the trombone makes sound and makes notes. And so this would also be a way for them to show that their opinions are valid, that their thoughts are good to be expressed around others and their classmates, and let them know that their opinions are very much valid, and I want to know what they think. And so I think it'd be a good way for them to just break the ice and feel confident in sharing in class. Again, so since there's no class in front of me, I'm going to skip ahead to the very end of my lesson. This is just the last bit of it. All right, so that's today's lesson. Very brief lesson over the trombone. Uh, Please make sure to look over the worksheet because we're going to have a quiz later this week over the different parts of the trombone. But don't worry, we will be going over the individual parts every day this week, so that when quiz day finally comes around, sorry, you'll be more than prepared and you'll be able to ace the quiz, no problem. Okay. So now that we're done, I want you to take apart your trombone by undoing. What is it called? What is it? Does anyone remember what it was? With your notes? Yeah, the main slide lock. Good job. Okay, take the undo the main slide lock, take it apart, and very slowly and gently put the instrument back in its case. Okay, and then put the case back in your locker. And then what I want you to do is come back down and sit down. And if you have any more questions, want to talk to me more about trombone, want to share any stories, I can. Or if we run out of time and the bell rings, from there you can just go next to your class. Okay? All right, everyone start packing up, and I'll see you tomorrow.